All right, good evening, everyone. How are you? It has been a while since I've done a tool time, and I did have a request from Patty to do the new circle cutting tool that we have at Creative Memories. Now, I will say this device is currently on back order. It was very popular when it first came out, and so if you are interested in it, you'll probably want to bookmark this video. I believe they are coming back in September. So one of the things you can do is go onto the Creative Memories website and look at the site for this particular one. You can actually check a box and they will email you when they are back in stock. So hopefully you can see both screens as I'm recording right now. This is a two-way cutter in that you have a blade on this side and you have a place to put a pen on this side. So maybe not so much a two-way cutter as a two-way tool, in that you can draw circles and you can cut circles, all with the same item. And I'm going to go over some of the basic components. There is a blade in here on this side, and much like the 12-inch trimmer, the blade is replaceable. So as it gets dull, if you've done however many cuts this does, it will come out. So there is, and I think I'm going to switch over to the overhead just so you can see a little bit more close up. I'm going to try and give myself just a little bit more light. Okay, so over here is a little button. Okay, looks a little bit like a duck, doesn't it? That's what I think of when I see that. So on the right-hand side of the duck, you're going to push that button and that will open the door to where the blade housing is. And this pops in and out again, just like the 12-inch trimmer. It's a little, sticks a little bit, but otherwise not bad. You can see there somewhere. There we go. I don't know if you can read that. It does say straight blade. I have not heard anything about a non-straight blade, like if we had, wavy or perforating or anything like that. I wouldn't rule it out, but I haven't heard anything yet. But that would be where you would want to drop your blade in, and you close the housing. And just like the 12-inch trimmer, I can run my finger over this all I want, and as long as the blade is not engaged, I am not going to cut myself. The bill on the duck, that little white thing, when you push him in, okay, we're going to push him in this way towards the head, that will engage the blade. There we go. And I don't know that you can see it come out, but it has indeed come out. Maybe you can see, there you can see it just a little bit there. So if I let go, and then there you can see it pop back out. While we have this turned over, let me show you this little pin. That is your centering pin, and it is not going to make a dot on your paper, but it is going to be the place where things are centered, but you're not actually going to be able to see it. So I'll show you how you actually find the center. This blackish rubber is a stabilizing piece, and that is going to hold it in place. Although I was playing around with this a little bit earlier, and I have to say, the paper may not stick to your surface. This will stay on the paper, but your paper might swing around, and that actually isn't a bad thing. So, so we'll see how that goes. The center of where you are going to cut this black line right there, okay? There are two measuring systems. This side is on English or American, and this side is on metric, so you can have your choice. And the measuring is a little bit odd in that it's not your traditional, you do have inches. You can see, 4, 5, 6 inches, and then there's small hash marks in between those. Sorry, it's not focusing fine. It's all focusing away, and I wish it would focus a little bit more finely. But each of those little hash marks, if you can see them, is 0.2 inches. So there's no half and there's no real quarter. You will have to kind of finagle in between, or you will have to satisfy with 4.2, 4.4, 4.6, whatever for your circles. In order to slide this back and forth, you twist the white ring just a little. You don't have to spin it like crazy, just twist a little, and this will slide back and forth when you get to where you want it. And I'm going to set it for ink first. I'm going to set it for 5-inch circle. Sorry, the window's open because it's a warm night and I don't have an air conditioner in. So there's 5, and when I get to 5, I just tighten that, finger tighten it. You don't want to go too crazy, okay? And now we're set for 5 inches. So as I said, on this side is the blade, on this side is a pen. So any of our dual tip pens, I have a couple different ones here. This is the dot one. Obviously the dot side will not work, but even the bold side of our traditional pens, these are not going to work. They will not get into the mechanism in order to give you an ink. So I'm going to start with black so you can see how that works. And I would say one accoutrement that you will want is the 13-inch mat. You will see the 13-inch mat here. When I place a 12 by 12 piece of paper, you still see the measurements around. If you have not bought the 13-inch mat, if you have a 12-inch mat, I will show you the problem. I found this out when I first used it because this was the mat that I had on hand instead of taking the 13. So it fits completely on the mat. However, you lose all of the side measurements. Now, it may not matter to you. I'm going to show you how to do circles and things that are not centered. But if you are trying to center, if you're trying to do a cut from the middle, you are probably going to want to see where all of the measurements are. And for that, you really do want the 13-inch mat. And those are available on the website. And I will remind you that we have a $20 coupon. They changed it this afternoon. You can only use the coupon once. So you can get $20 off any order, any amount, 20 and more. But you can only use it once. So you have the black lines on both sides. You actually have a little bit of a bump here where the pen is. A lot of people are making black marks over here because they want 4 points to find their center. I don't think I need that, but then I'm a lot more carefree with my layout. So depending on how specific you feel like getting. But here's 6 on the left and right. So for me, I would eyeball where that bump is. And then on that line, I want my black marks to line up with the 6. So that's going to give me either a cut or a ink mark right in the center of the paper. Okay. So to do the ink, you uncap your fine tip, right? It's got to be the fine tip. You're simply going to place it straight up and down in that holder. You place one hand on this pin to push down. Once I push down, that black rubber bar or circle is now in contact with the paper, and that's going to hold this in place. It's going to hold the middle of this in place while the rest of it free floats around. So you just take your pen and you swirl it back and forth. Now you can see you may have to move your arms a little bit, but I've just drawn a circle and I made a little ink mark there. That's not that bad of a problem. What I really like about this, to me, when I saw this, the first thing I thought was, oh, Spirograph. I loved Spirograph as a kid. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So what if you just wanted to draw a whole bunch of circles all over the page? What if that was your design? Maybe I'm going to make my own background page by just drawing circles all over. Now, the thickness of the circle will not change because you can only use the fine tip pens, but you can draw as many circles as you want. So I'm just randomly placing this. I will say the one tip I did here, if you are cutting and you are not in the center of the paper, start your circle near the corner that you are closest to. So for me, if I'm going to do it right here, I'm going to turn this so that my ink is right here near the edge. So I know I'm not going to go off the paper. Although, who knows? Maybe I want to go off the paper. And as I said, you just have to spin a little. I apologize, I just bumped. Okay, so now we have a red one. And now I'm going to do the green. Over here. Now I made all these the same size. If I wanted to, I can unlock the white ring and slide this ever so slightly. Lock that white ring again. Please remember to lock the white ring or this thing will float like crazy. And then do your next circle. Okay, so now I have that nice concentric ring. And I go back to black, and maybe we'll go over here. Maybe we'll just, I did want to say that there are 2 sets of marks on this side. The black pen, you can actually see over here, it looks like a little pen. You're going to use the black lines when you are measuring for your ink circles. You can go all the way up to 11, and you can go down as far as, I believe that's 2.5 or slightly under 2.5. 3 is the first actual mark. And I will say the closer you get to the edge, the harder it's going to be because you may have a pen or this blade in your way. So I wouldn't necessarily do really, really tiny. So there is a need for the custom cutting system still, because you're going to want that for the very, very small. But this will get you everything up to an 11-inch circle. In fact, let's make an 11-inch circle in ink. Okay. And I'm going to do this right in the middle. Finding my 6s all over the place. And let's see, let's do it in red. Okay, again, engage that. Start spinning. And now if you're doing a nice wide one, I will say you can kind of, pull your arm up and you can get yourself underneath there. So you can see it's kind of cool. Look at the backgrounds you can make. Think about the planets. If you've got the Out of This World pack, which is one of the new releases, perfect for either cutting things out of that paper or adding circular structures to that paper. If you are doing snowmen, in fact, this makes me think of that snowman. Have you ever seen that top-down snowman where you can see like a small circle for the head, a little bit larger body for the middle, and a big body, big base for where the feet are? That makes me I kind of see that here a little bit. So lots of different ideas. Anything that you can do with a circle, you can do with this. So I will switch over to cutting. So the cutting is on the white. Here's how you remember that. Not only is there a small picture of a blade over here, but the knob is white. So the numbers are white. Okay, so you're going to stick with white. So I'm going to do a 7-inch circle. Okay, and I'm going to do it right from the middle. And again, I'm using my landmarks to kind of line me up with 6, just ever so slightly visually. Pushing now, I'm going to have to switch my hands a little bit because I have to push down, and I'm right-handed, so I want to use that to grab the blade, push in, push down, and turn. Just like I did with the pen, I can lift my arm and go up and down and underneath. And just like you do with a custom cutting system, you'll probably want a couple of passes to make sure you've gotten your cut. And then as long as you plan on not going concentric circles out, you can attempt to lift around the edges to make sure you got your cut. I believe I did. Aha, I did. Okay. Yes, using up the back of my paper pack inserts. All right, what if I want a tiny one, and what if I don't want it in the corner? Let's do a tiny one on this side. I'm going to try and do a 3-inch. I'm not going to be able to do 3. I'll do 3.2s. I think it's about the smallest I can get without hitting the blade. 3.2-inch circle. And again, start it with the blade near the edge of your paper. Push down, engage the blade, and spin. And you may have to reach around yourself. It's a little ungainly, but I think the more we play with it, the better it will be. There's my little 3-inch circle. Boy, does not look like a planet right there. Love that. I may have to save that and use that later. And you can see, you can cut all over this. It does not have to be in the center. Most of the training videos that I saw everything was going right from the center. And if you want to do concentric rings, fabulous, do that. Okay. In fact, right now, if I wanted to do, if you remember, this is 7, it's not going to be a perfect circle because I cut that guy out, but let's say I did 7.4. And now I actually can see the center. So I can really line this guy up. There's my 6 and there. And oh, I did manage to do that. You know, I don't think my first one was perfectly centered. I ended up with a little crescent. But hey, you could do crescents too. Maybe you like that. Okay, let's do an object lesson. I like this sketch. This is from the Worldwide Virtual Crop that we held this weekend. And the directions from the person who made this, they actually have measurements on a video that they were showing how to do this. Now, she used the custom cutting system, so I thought I could do that with the regular cutting system or the new circle cutter. Of course you can. So this middle piece here is a 7-inch strip, and you measure this piece and you make that your highlight. So what I want to do is I actually want to turn this way. My plan is to turn that sketch. Remember, you can turn sketches 90 degrees because I have this fabulous picture of my cardiovascular students having class outside in the summer. This was July of 2016. And I mean, it just doesn't get better than this. Now, these are 2 5x7 photos that I have strung together. And I do think I will probably crop it a little bit to get rid of some of this background tree. I don't know. But at the very least, I know this is 5 inches, and this 7-inch piece would be a really nice frame around this. And I could have that bubble up on the top and bottom. This is cardiovascular. So what color are we going to make it? Red. Of course, we are going to make it red. So we are going to start with, sorry, I'm not used to having that in my space. We're going to start with a 7-inch piece. I'm going to make this easy on myself and not take the arm out because 5 and 7 is 12. So that's 7. That's 5. So we're going to have our 7-inch piece. And I'm going to line this up on my mat because I'm going to use this for making my marks. I have a little pencil here. And where do I put my sketch? So 1 3/4 inches in from the edge. So that is a half. That is 1, 1.5, 1 3/4 here. And on this side, that's a half. That's 1.5 and 1 3/4 here. Yeah. Okay, so I have that one. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And 1 3/4 here. 1 3/4 here. And then from the top, I'm going to start the circle at 4 1/4. Now I'm going to need a bit. Okay, excellent. I need a bit of a straight edge here. I usually have one in this door. I can find my straight edge. Now I can find all kinds of tearing tools. Well, we will just have to improvise, and I will be using this other mat to find my place where I want to start my mat. Sorry, I know I'm shaking the table. All right, so we come down 4 1/4 inches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1/4. Which would be right there. And from the bottom, we want 2 1/2. So that is 1, 2 1/2, which is this line. And I'm just going to go all the way across because I can turn this over. And hide all my pencil marks. Okay, so here's the plan. I don't know how much the pencil marks you can see. If I take a little bit of light away, you might be able to see it. No, it's worse. Okay, I know it's red, so it's a little bit hard to see, but the idea is that I want, there's my sketch, right? So I want this bubble out here and here. So we want this to be my circle here and here. So we're going to take this puppy and the blade, I'm going to put the blade where I want the edge to be on one side. And I would say that is a good place. So I'm going to center it. It should be this line. All right. Move you. That's right. All right. I want my cut to be right around there. That means I need to move my black lines to where the middle-ish is, which should be, it's actually still on the 6-inch mark. So without starting the blade, this is what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to make this bubble. I don't think it's quite big enough. I think we're going to go a little bit bigger. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go from here. Yeah, push in on the blade, Connie. Okay, we're going from one part of the line to the other part of the line. And then we're going to skip. We're going to go from this part of the line to that part of the line. Perfect. And then I'm just going to use the straight trimmer to cut off. And I've got my bubble piece. What do you think? All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. I do hope that this was instructional. I definitely will take any questions below. And I hope you guys have a great evening. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any other tools you want me to demonstrate, then give me a shout out and I will do my best to do so. Have a great evening, folks. Bye-bye.